Love and health form the foundation and pillars that support all that you do to create fulfillment and success in every aspect of your life. Love within us guides our paths while our health enables us to drive forward. The two are inseparable and vital for growth and reaching your fullest potential. Welcome to Love and Health in America with Dr. Dewey Lee, Mary McMahon, and Jens Johnson. Dr. Lee is an international speaker, author, inventor of the Diamond Matrix, and medical director of Advanced Surgical Arts. Mary McMahon is a certified financial planner committed to maximizing your financial success. And Jens Johnson, the Mindset Master, is a best-selling author, speaker, mastermind facilitator, and success mindset coach. They are committed to help you succeed by optimizing your health, finances, and relationships. Please join them and explore all the facets of love and health to achieve and live your abundant life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Dewey Lee, Mary McMahon, and Jens Johnson.
Good afternoon, Love and Health in America audience. Good afternoon, Dr. Lee. Good afternoon, Jens. Great to be with everyone. So today's show is going to be very interesting because we're going to continue our conversation about mindset, money, and health. And I had a very unique experience this past week that I wanted to share, and it's about COVID. So we're going to talk about COVID today, but this is going to be a great COVID story. The 99% of stories out there about COVID that you don't get to hear about. 99% of people who contract COVID recover from COVID, but you never hear their stories. And so I have a personal story about COVID this week that I want to share with everyone. And it is absolutely about what kind of mindset do you have. It's about money, using money well, and it's also about health and being healthy. So last week, Monday, I got a call in the evening. It was from my daughter. She was sobbing. She's a sophomore in college, away, NCAA Division I athlete, and sobbing because her COVID test on that Monday was positive. She had not tested positive for COVID, and she had to move out of the house. She shares a house with 5 other athletes, and she had to quarantine for over a week. And she's crying, and I said, Lauren, I said, honey, just come home. She goes, Mom, she goes, but you haven't been vaccinated. I said, you know what? I'm going to be fine. You come home. You need to quarantine. Come home. So my husband flew up and drove back with her, and she was home for this past week with COVID. And I want to say thank you to Dr. Lee because we brought her in the very next day. Well, obviously, we retested positive, and then we got treatment for Lauren, which was fantastic. And it was a journey for her to go through COVID, the nasal congestion, the headache. You know, one day she had body aches. She had the fatigue you talked about, Dr. Lee, and she lost her sense of smell, so she lost her sense of taste. That was the part that drove her crazy the most. So it's been a week later, and she is doing great.
That's good.
And I'm doing absolutely fine. I'm actually feel better than I did the whole month of August.
Okay.
I didn't have COVID because I tested for it, but I think I had some other things going on that were kind of dragging at me. I feel fantastic, and my husband's doing just fine too. And we have been around a COVID positive person for over a week now.
I'm telling you, the COVID is really funny. I've been doing this since February? Yeah, February of last year. I mean, when it first started going crazy, that's when I started treating and prophylaxing people, and researching, going crazy. But so all throughout, and still consistent. There are so many families. I have people coming in. The families, they literally sleep and live together. One will get it, and the other one won't. It's the strangest thing. And so your story actually is not that atypical. And I think a lot has to do with your just underlying health. If you're healthy, have a good immune system, more than likely, you may get something, whatever, you may just beat it. I'm sure Lauren is very strong and healthy, so she did really well. I mean, she's also young, so she got a lot of things going for her that are advantageous, apart from older people. But I think she's just a naturally healthy person. So now she has natural immunity, which is 13 times stronger than any vaccine that we can get. It's only the ones that are around here. So she's actually in great condition, great shape. So
Well, I'm going to throw my personal story in the ring here, because about a month ago, I was in the same boat. I actually had a trip, and there were four couples, and somebody unknowingly was there. She didn't know she had the
And
virus,
there are some
and
technical difficulties.
I
There you
am
go.
okay. And six of the eight people on our trip, got it. But a couple things, Mary, and you've talked about this, and also Dr. Lee has talked about it. You just have to educate yourself and be
Hmm.
smart. And am I having technical
It
difficulties?
must be StreamYard. This is kind of weird.
Well, who knows? Well, I'm just saying that we have struggled, and I think people need to put a plan into action. You need to know what your health plan is, because you need to be proactive and take care of yourself. You need to have a money plan in action, because you don't
There's
know
something
what's
going
going.
on with StreamYard. This has to be
Oh,
StreamYard.
what is it? Am I going in and out?
You're going in and out. Right now, I just see a little circle, and I was doing in circles, and
Oh,
my Wi-Fi is fine. So your story didn't come through at all.
oh,
I have to say that I haven't had any of those issues today.
Really?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's,
usually you're the one that's having problems.
well, hopefully,
I think this is StreamYard because it's affecting two of us.
I
So
don't know. So
yeah.
hopefully, am I better now?
You're better once you repeat your story because I didn't catch any of
Okay.
it.
So what I was going to say is, something I think is so important is that everybody become proactive what your plan is going to be. If you or someone you love in your family, or that gets that positive test, because it's not if, it's just when it's going to
yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And what I know this, we all three know this, everybody that's going to watch this episode knows this. The quality of our life is dependent on the quality of our health.
Yeah.
And it's not just our physical health. It's our physical health, obviously. It's our spiritual health. It's our mental health. It's our financial health. It's our emotional health. Our health really does determine the quality of our life. And let me tell
Absolutely.
you, if I wasn't spiritually strong and in a good place in my life to be prepared for this, it would have really it would have been more difficult and challenging, and it was difficult and challenging as it was in and of itself. So I'm really interested in learning more from both of you, what your personal recommendations are, because I know my personal recommendation is be proactive, be prepared. If you don't have things, your house in order, spiritually, financially, emotionally, mentally, get in order, because this is the beginning of something that, at least in my lifetime, I've never gone through. And I don't think it's going away for a while.
Yeah, it's
Well,
absolutely true. I think it's from a health point of view. I'm sorry, Mary. I
that's
won't
okay.
get exactly what you said. I think part of my regimen when I'm treating patients is obviously treat them for the illness they have, but they all get a list of the supplements that I recommend to take along with them, also during their illness, but also moving forward as a prophylaxis. And I kind of designed the supplements to do specific things. It's not just taking a bunch of vitamin pills. There are five. You could add a couple of things, but I think the five that I recommend are kind of important because they do specific things. And they include vitamin D, vitamin C, quercetin, glutathione, and zinc. And vitamin D is there because we know from the very onset, people with high levels of vitamin D really didn't get sick with COVID. If they did, they did well. Zinc is important because we know that's antiviral and actually works against and kills and stops virus replication. but zinc needs help getting into the cell. That's where the quercetin comes in. And quercetin acts like hydroxychloroquine and enables zinc to get into the cell. So because the zinc has hard times, if it stays outside the cell, it doesn't really do much. It has to get inside the cell. So quercetin enables that. And glutathione is there because it's a very strong antibody, an antioxidant. And we, as we get older, we lose that. And kids don't seem to get as much severity in COVID because they have very high levels of glutathione. So they tend to get much, much less disease and do well even if they get sick. So glutathione is in there to fortify older people, middle age and older, to get healthier and stronger. So that's the reason I put those in there, and very specific reasons. And hopefully people will take that and keep themselves healthy and moving forward. So anyway, so go ahead.
And I just want to put in there in terms of having a definite plan. I had done a pretty good amount of being in crowds and airports and travel last month. So when I got back home, I had this raspy voice. I know the virus replicates in the back of the throat. And I'm like, oh, I think I should be responsible. I'm going to take myself into Dr. Lee's office and get tested for COVID. And I was negative. I didn't know I was going to be back the next week with a COVID positive person. But what I want to say is, being healthy, having a plan for being healthy. Your health is not your health insurance plan. Your health is a function of the things that you do every day to be healthy. And you're either doing something that creates better health or you're doing something that creates worse health. And so I started taking the supplements. I already had some of those supplements in my routine, but I added what I didn't have off of Dr. Lee's list. And I also did it to the dosages, which was a higher amount than I would normally do. And it made perfect sense to me. And, I'm going to assert that, my mindset is like, I'm taking care of my daughter. I told her, I said, you know what? I'm going to be fine. I made a decision that I was going to be fine during that process. And so I just naturally took on what I needed to do to be good. And the supplements were part of that.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to have it in life. Like you said, Jens, it's a virus. It's airborne. We're all going to get it at a certain point. It's just a matter of what your experience is going to be. You want to healthy up. The supplements that Dr. Lee suggests is a great opportunity and not expensive. So here's the money side. So Lauren had already been tested by team doctors at school. She was positive. She came home. We took her into the Dr. Lee's office the next day. Got her tested COVID positive, and then you prescribed a hydroxychloroquine for her, which was very easy for her to take and works. Simple, inexpensive. The doctor visit, the test, the prescription, simple, inexpensive, and works. And the supplements are not expensive, and they're easy to take. And those supplements not only are good for, they're just good for you for being healthy, period. It's been proven that people with high levels of vitamin D suffer less from dis-ease in their older years in life than people who don't have higher levels of vitamin D. So
and to your point, Mary, these are things that we need to be doing every day anyway, regardless what's going on. And I'm going to throw something in as well. And because I have had it here recently, and Dr. Lee was amazing. And we did the same thing. We called Dr. Lee because if you don't have a personal relationship with a physician and you just never thought that was something that you should do, well, my advice is you do it. And you just, from this point forward, always have a personal relationship with a physician or a couple of physicians that you trust, that you are aligned with the same way of thinking, your mindset's aligned, and you contact them immediately. And one of the things that Dr. Lee said to me, because I will let you know, the first couple of days I wasn't feeling that badly. I told Dr. Lee, I said, I think tomorrow I'm going to lift weights.
I still remember that. It's like, oh.
I think I was on day 3 or 4.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
And I said, I think
text.
tomorrow I'm gonna lift weights. Dr. Lee said, don't lift weights. And that the advice that he gave me, which I have told every person this, is if you get COVID or when you get COVID, the best advice was when Dr. Lee said, rest immediately because you don't want your energy reserves to be depleted. Because at the beginning, a lot of people don't feel that badly, but it's when those energy reserves are depleted, you are toast.
Uh-huh.
And so when the next day, of course, Dr. Lee texted me and he said, all right, have you done any bench press today? And I said, no. and that was the day that I said, you know what, I'm resting. And I will admit it, the first couple days I didn't, I still did stuff around the house. I was doing laundry, I was cleaning, because I didn't feel horrible. But when he said don't lift weights, rest, I did that, and it saved me. Now my husband did not heed that counsel, and he had some rougher times. So I think people just need to realize that you need a plan of attack, and being proactive, getting healthy, taking those vitamins. Dr. Lou can tell you again what those vitamins are. If you don't have a personal relationship with a physician, start that, create and develop that, and cultivate a relationship with someone like Mary that is a money person, because you know, you do have to prepare for these things. And I think that's probably for me, the biggest lesson is you got to prepare for everything. And the older you get, the more serious you need to take your preparation and being proactive.
Absolutely right. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you listened to them. I still remember getting that text. It's like, she has to be kidding.
I was not kidding, Dr. Lee. I was
I know, and knowing you, I
gonna
thought,
live
oh my
life.
God, knowing Chance, if I don't answer this right now, I know she's gonna sit there and walk to the cowboy place and start working out. Like, no, 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 you can't do that. It was so funny,
Actually,
and it
I
was so
want you to
you. It's
tell.
like this is Jens. It's like, oh, this is her.
But I was going to say, now I have all my stuff at home, so I would not have gone to the
Okay,
gym.
okay.
I would have stayed at home and done my bench press, because I can do that right next door here in the
Oh
house.
my word. Yeah, okay.
Well, this is a really good point that you're making, Jens, is that, if you have COVID-19, which is a coronavirus, or you have another coronavirus that's called a common cold,
Yes, exactly.
or you have the flu, you should really stay at home, proper fluids, good nutrition, and rest. Because viruses are airborne. When you go out, you can infect other people, and you have no idea whether a person who does have a compromised immune system is going to catch that from you or not. I mean, it happened to my dad. My dad died unexpectedly at age 45 of pneumonia. What we've witnessed over this past year and a half, with people coming down with that and having that lung capacity diminished and passing away from, not getting oxygen. That's how my dad passed away. He didn't have to pass away, but he did.
Yeah.
So I don't bring up as a sad story. It happens all of the time.
Yeah,
And
hit,
more people pass away from the flu than they do from COVID-19. But the thing of it is you're not going to hear that in the media.
that's right.
You're not going to hear that.
And-
And Dr. Lee, it's a very interesting biochemical process, the mitochondria and ATP. So share that little piece of COVID with the audience so that when they do feel fatigued from whatever they're experiencing, they can remember what that's all about. And that it's very important to take care of your energy reserves and allow your body to heal.
Yeah, really bad. What's interesting is it's a little like falling off a cliff. You feel really fine until you don't. And it can happen just like that, very, very fast. And I'm sure that's what Jen went through. That's what I went through. I mean, when I had COVID last year in November, I got over it very fast. I mean, I put myself on hydrochloroquine. I was over it after about 4 days. I was like, I'm fine. And then like a week later, I mean, I was floored. I mean, I was so exhausted, and I did this exhaustion for like 8 weeks. I mean, my staff saw me just literally dragging myself in. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, well, I mean, I have patients to see. I got things to do. I can't stay home. But it was tough, and so that's why I know personally what it's like to have that fatigue. And it's a deep fatigue. It's not just kind of feeling tired like I didn't get enough sleep like before. It really goes to the core of your body to really feel like I'm just totally sapped out. It's really a strange type of feeling. But it does come back. And I tell people to take colostrum, and there are other things you can take to help you re-stimulate, that healing process and rejuvenate that ATP production. But that doesn't happen overnight. And another thing that a lot of people go through, this is very common, is dehydration. And most people don't realize why they're so tired, or they feel dizzy when they get up and all these kind of things. And I tell them, because I've been doing tons of telemedicine, that more than likely they're dehydrated. And I ask them about their urination, all that. Oh, I go to the bathroom and I pee. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you are, but it's not the right kind of pee. And you need to really push fluids. And nobody has the willingness or even the drive to drink fluids enough to replenish yourself. It takes a long time. And when you're sick and tired and you have no taste, last thing what you want to do is chug water. you know?
Yeah.
Well,
But I tell them this is so important because your life really depends on being able to drink fluid because no one can give you IVs, and they have to go to the hospital to get an IV. Well, then that sets up a whole other chain reaction, which you don't want to do. So I tell them, you have to force yourself to drink. You have to.
Dr. Lee, I want to say on that point that that's another proactive activity that you can do. If you are accustomed to drinking a lot of water, then you're going to be okay. I mean, I drink water all the time. I've got my Yeti right here. I drink water all the time, all the time, all the time. Just water. I mean, that's primarily what I drink. And so for me, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to drink more water than I normally drink. I consume a lot of water anyway. But that was one of the things I thought about is I thought a couple of things is number one, what do people do that they don't live their lives this way anyway?
Yeah.
Because like you said, you are sick, you don't feel well, you don't want to drink as much water. And then the other thing that I love so much about you, Dr. Lee, and whatever physician or physicians you determine to cultivate a personal relationship with, is you really educate. And when you told me, and believe me, I had read an article, but I just didn't have it on the forefront of my mind. But when you told me, part of the energy fatigue is because of what is happening in your mitochondria. Well, I immediately said, all right, there's a supplement that I take, and I don't take it on a consistent basis, but it works on the mitochondria. And I started taking it that day.
But
I had more energy that day. And from that point forward, and of course I'm continuing to take it, but we need to be educated instead of instead of being scared.
Yeah.
We need to be educated on you can take control of your life. You can take control of this. There's no reason to be afraid. You have to be proactive and you have to immediately go into action the minute you have any type of symptoms.
yeah,
And be responsible, as Mary said. Be responsible. Even if you have symptoms and you don't know what's going on, go get a test. And don't go out around a bunch of people until you know. Just be responsible, respectful, common sense. But we really do, this isn't going away, at least for a while. So we've got to take control and be smart. I mean, we're smart individuals, every single one of us.
yeah.
We are smart. God gave us an incredible immune system. We just need to know what we're going to do, and we keep doing it.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely so in August when I was in an event of 450 people, when I was in the airport for 8 hours and on flights, and the next day I was in the airport for 8 hours and on flights. 3 days in a row in different cities, I was, I think I need to be responsible. I'm going to go in, I'm going to get tested and see if I'm, negative or positive. But I waited, gosh, I waited like 10 days before I did that. And it came out negative, which was great. Then with Lauren coming home and being COVID positive, I said, the whole time through, I said, if I'm COVID positive, I need to know that so that I don't infect other people, so I can arrange my life around that. With Lauren being in the same living home as me, being COVID positive, I said I need to not be out in public because I don't know what's going to happen to me. Although my mindset is I'm going to be fine and the actions I'm going to take are going to support that. And so I've done everything by Zoom last week. I'm going to continue to do it by Zoom this week. And through this weekend, I'm going to just ascertain again, do I have COVID or not? And if I don't have COVID, that's great. The thing about being prepared and having that action plan, you have to have it thought out. And when you have an action plan, you actually will always spend less money. We
Yeah.
talk about these supplements, we talk about going to see the doctor, we talk about all of that. But that is the least amount of money that you can spend. Being healthy is the least amount of money you can spend, period, over a lifetime.
It's always
Um,
true. Yeah.
Being healthy. It's when you don't have a plan, when you're always in a reactive mode, when you don't take care of yourself, when you don't get yourself to the doctor when you should, that's when you run into problems and when it costs a lot more money. So it is very important to have a plan. And it is very important to take personal responsibility, especially during this time, because we literally have to still get to a herd immunity level because viruses don't go away. Sorry.
Well, it's not going to go away. Yeah.
The better question to ask, and why the media is not asking this question, is like, well, why were we funding that research in the Wuhan lab? And why
We
are
all
we
know the
doing
answer
this
to that,
anyway?
don't we?
And I know that researchers have been working on studying this virus since February 2019. So our country even knew about it.
Long time. But anyway, so kind of take off on what Jen said and what you just said. So this virus is here to stay. We're going to see different mutations, different forms, and who knows what they'll do with it politically. But just from a purely medical scientific point of view, this is no different than the HIV virus. Okay, it's no different than the hepatitis virus. All the other viruses, chickenpox, polio, is still here. HIV has been around for a long time, of course. And I'm a surgeon, so I deal with blood all the time. So you got the hepatitis and HIV that I have to worry about getting pricked and whatever. But in the beginning, it was like a big deal. I mean, you can't touch somebody if they're sweating, or you don't get too close because their spit might get onto you. You might get HIV. I mean, we went through this crazy period where everyone was, oh, no, you got to stand away from people. So we finally get over all that stuff. And now everybody knows how to deal with this. I mean, most people get HIV from transfusions and not from unprotected sex. We taught ourselves how to, protect ourselves that way. Just like all the other sexually transmitted diseases, it just became one of the part of the STDs. And as far as that goes, if you're not running around doing unprotected sex, chances of you getting HIV is virtually nil. And then so we learned how to deal with this. I think we're going to go through the same thing. We're still in the beginning throes of learning how to deal with this COVID. Of course, we didn't have the political pressure back then that we have now, because I think the agenda is very, very different. For people, and how we're dealing with coronavirus is very different than HIV. So that's something that we have to kind of figure out. And there are so many things that are going on that kind of support that, thing I sent out earlier to you with China and all that. And so this is much deeper, much more frightening problem than just coronavirus. Coronavirus by itself, it really is nothing. I know I have doctor colleagues, who are working in the emergency rooms downtown. They're freaking out and they're crying and they're upset, thinking, "Oh my God, the world's going to end." You got to wear a mask. You got to do all this at the same time. It's like, well, I understand where you're coming from. I used to be an ER doctor because I know what it's like to be in a busy downtown ER. I was an ER doctor for 5 years in Detroit. So I know what they're going through, and this is probably far, far worse. So I certainly empathize and understand what they're going through. Well, I'm going through it as well. I'm a doctor treating COVID patients. I mean, it's, but it's like the elephant and five blind men. Depending on if you're picking the tail or the trunk or the leg, you describe the elephant in a different way. Well, maybe I'm looking at the tail, and it's not that big of a deal. It's a little wimpy little tail. I've been treating my patients. I've been treating a lot of patients pretty successfully, by and large. No one under my care has died. A few have ended up in the hospital because either they're just weak or they come to me late and I don't get to do the things for them. But so far, I feel like, well, I mean, I'm treating patients. I'm not going through this horrendous, dire, end of the world situation that some of my colleagues are describing. And they're all talking about, oh my God, you got to wear a mask, you got to get vaccinated, all the stuff they're talking about, they're beating the drum. I'm thinking it's like, well, yeah, maybe, but I'm just not going through that, And so it's a very different perspective. And this is literally same town. This is Dallas. I'm in Plano, they're in Dallas. And it's night and day between what I'm hearing and what I'm experiencing. And Janice, you went through it personally too. So you know where I'm coming from. It's not the end of the world. And that's what I'm telling my patients. Yeah, I mean, you can get it. That's fine. More than likely, you're going to come through it fine. More than likely, you're going to live. And more than likely, a week later, you're going to be fine. You're going to be healthy. And, you're going to get through it. And I'm going to teach you how to stay healthy moving forward. That was part of my job. So I tell patients, like, with the studies coming out that your own natural immunity is stronger than the vaccine, in some ways, it's probably not a bad thing you get the disease because, yeah, you're going to go through some rough time. But that's the payment you pay to get the immunity that's going to propel you forward and protect you down the road. So for me, it's like, yeah, I went through hell. I mean, my wife went through hell, but we got out of it. We're stronger. And, I don't have any fear of COVID. If I get it, I know how to take care of it. If any of my patients, my friends get it, I know how to take care of them. So bring it on. I mean, I have no trouble dealing with this. And of course, I'm sure there's some ER doctor going through another side of it thinking I'm sort of an arrogant whatever saying this. But it's the same disease, but we're seeing two different sides of it. It's just the way we saw HIV. If you're in a certain, at that point, it was the gay population. If you're in the gay population, you're at the highest risk because of how it was transmitted. Yeah, they had a whole different perspective than somebody in the medical profession where, yeah, I mean, there's a risk of finger pricks. Well, just be more careful, double gloved, some people triple gloved to reduce that chance of getting a needle prick. That's how we protected ourselves. But it was not the night and day of I'm going to die of HIV, scenario. So again, it's the same thing that I think we're going through now, depending on where you are, like all the stuff we've been talking about, how you protect yourself, prepare yourself, and go through the battle of getting well, even if you do contract the virus. That's going to set you up, how to move forward. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say is it's not, if you get the illness, it's not the end of the world by any means,
Right.
any means. So.
And I've got to say, I know we're getting close to the end of the show, but I have to say, as the mindset master, I've got to share some reading that people can read to really master your mindset, to master that you don't have fear, that you are in control, that you can overcome this, and you can overcome anything. You can succeed in anything you put your mind to. And one of the things that I do is I facilitate a mastermind. Mary's in my mastermind. Dr. Lee is part of our mastermind, believe me. And you have to have a group of people that, the power of a mastermind is it's the knowledge and experience of everyone. And we're always growing. So we're all, we bring to the table gifts and talents, but as we continue to grow, we have more gifts and talents that we can share. So if you haven't read the book, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, I highly recommend you get on thriftbooks.com because it's cheaper on thriftbooks.com than any place else. And that's where I get all my books.
Yeah.
And there's a chapter number 11. It's how to use faith in healing. And what I love about Norman Vincent Peale, of course, he's amazing. And if you have read the book, read it again. But a lot of his chapters, he will have a a 6, 8, 10-step really walkthrough of what you can do to take control over your thoughts. And our thoughts really do determine the outcome of 99.9% of the things in our life. And Mary talked about that herself, is she made the decision. As soon as I found out what I was going through, I made the decision. My mindset was, I'm going to call Dr. Lee. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to rest. I'm going to do what he tells me to do. Um, and that's all in the mind. So what I tell people all the time, you can't pull anything good out of this brain unless you put some good stuff in it. And the time to put the good stuff in it is every
Healthy.
day. Don't wait until you need to pull something good out. Daily, constantly putting good things in your brain. And in my opinion, that's what I love. One of the things I love about our podcast that we do is we're helping put good things into people's brains so they can pull great things out later. Mary.
Live richly and
Love.
Yeah.
Hey, we're closing up, and what we love Mary, she's all about living richly.
That's right.
Love deeply.
Yes, and always stay healthy.
Until we see everybody again, be big, be bold, and most
Thank you for being with us for this episode of Love and Health in America. Dr. Dewey Lee, Mary McMahon, and Jens Johnson are committed to help you achieve a life full of love, health, and abundance. Please join us in our next episode as we share another facet for you to optimize love and health in your life. Until next time, love deeply, live richly, and stay healthy.